Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kelly Cullen Community. I'm the assistant manager here. We also have a general manager, Abdullah Das, and another assistant manager, Nicole Whitfall. Kelly Cullen Community is located at Golden Gate, and we are formerly the YMCA. We provide 172 efficiency studio units for chronically homeless people, and we're glad to do so. We also have a health clinic downstairs, social workers on site, and also nurses. We thank you all for coming out, and now I would like to just welcome Senator Wiener.
Thank you, Angelita, and I want to thank the Kelly Cullen community for hosting us here today. This is an amazing facility and amazing housing that has helped so many people, and this is just a fantastic example of what San Francisco is about helping our most vulnerable residents, helping people succeed and be housed and healthy. That's what the city of St. Francis is about. I'm just so proud to be a San Franciscan and to represent this great city in the state Senate. So I first want to thank Governor Jerry Brown for signing Senate Bill 1045 into law. This bill is a significant step forward in taking a new approach to the epidemics of mental illness and severe drug addiction that we see playing out on our streets every day, and not just in San Francisco, but in cities throughout this state. It is not progressive, it's not compassionate to just sit by while people unravel and ultimately die on our streets. To be clear, we are not talking about most homeless people. A large majority of homeless people are not what this bill is about. This is about a small percentage of chronic homeless people who are incapable of making decisions for themselves due to severe mental health and drug addiction issues, who are incapable of accepting services. And we need to help these people, and we need to stop just letting people unravel and die on our streets. And what the city of San Francisco and other cities have told us is that the current conservatorship laws in California are not meeting the needs, particularly of people with severe drug addiction. People who are cycling in and out of the psych emergency room, in and out of 5150 holds, and then they're back on the streets, unraveling more and more. We need to help get these people into housing, into services, get people stable and healthy, and do everything we can to get their lives on track. And that is what Senate Bill 1045 is about. This is not about mass institutionalization. This is about really focusing on a relatively limited number of people who are dying on our streets and helping to get them stable and into housing. I want to thank my colleague, Assemblyman Chiu, for supporting this bill and working with us on it. And I want to thank the City of San Francisco, and particularly Mayor Breed and Supervisor Mandelman, who have just been champions for this bill and who actually came up to Sacramento to testify in committee in favor of the bill. They are that committed to it. And I know that they are already working hard to implement it. But this is not the end of the road. This is going to be a long-term state-local partnership where we will work together to make sure that San Francisco has the tools and resources that it needs to help our most vulnerable residents survive and thrive. So with that, it's now my honor to bring up to the lectern our great mayor, Mayor London Breed.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Wiener, and thank you so much for your leadership on this bill in Sacramento. Trying to address what we know are major challenges throughout our city with people who unfortunately struggle with mental illness is something that is going to require leadership from both local and state officials. And Senator Scott Wiener and Assemblymember David Chiu have been leading the way in moving forward incredible policies that are going to help us implement the kinds of things that are going to be important to addressing these issues. I want to thank Governor Jerry Brown for signing SB 1045. I probably harassed him every single day until it was done. We didn't get the safe injection site bill signed, but we are not going to give up hope. There is still work to be done in that effort, but this is a great first step. And so far, what we're doing here in San Francisco is we are working to begin the process of passing legislation through the Board of Supervisors so that we can implement this law right here in San Francisco. I've already given direction to the Department of Aging and Adult Services, our Human Service Agency, and the Department of Public Health to begin working with the public defender, the district attorney's office, as well as the Superior Court, so that we develop the right legislations here in San Francisco to move it forward so that we can implement this policy. And I want to thank Supervisor Rafael Mandelman for being a supporter and a champion in this effort, because we know that there are challenges. Many of you know that today we announced that we will be opening another 1,000 new shelter beds here in San Francisco by the end of 2020. That is important. Because we have to build housing, and no, we're not building housing fast enough, but we also need places for people to go, because clearly sleeping on the streets is not a humane situation right now here in our city. And part of moving forward with providing more shelter beds also means making sure that we have more mental health stabilization beds for people as we move them through the system for the purposes of trying to get them conserved, trying to get them the help and the support and the treatment they need so that they can live healthy and productive lives. This is not just trying to, we're not just trying to force someone into a situation. This is about helping people get healthy and stabilized. We all know what is happening here on our streets is unacceptable. Currently, we're using our hospitals and our jails to cycle people with mental illness in and out of the hospitals, in and out of the jail system, and they are not getting healthy. They are not getting better. We need new solutions. We need bold leadership to move forward with the kinds of solutions that are going to be effective and deliver what we need. So our next steps are to pass legislation. Our next steps are to fund and open new mental health stabilization beds. Our next steps are to continue to work collaboratively in order to deliver what we know will make the difference on our streets: shelter beds, mental health stabilization beds, building more housing, providing supportive services for people we know that are struggling here in our city, and dealing with the income inequality gap that we know continues to persist, not only in San Francisco, but throughout the country. We are making, this is a great step. And I remember back in late January, early February, where we were at Community Housing Partnership building, the Richardson Apartments, which I absolutely love, 120 units of supportive housing for people who were formerly homeless and struggle with mental illness. The perfect example of a place that we have in San Francisco to help address many of these challenges, and we have to open more places like that, more supportive services that are gonna help us get people who are chronically mental ill and suffering from homelessness off the streets and into a safe environment and healthy, so that all of us in San Francisco are thriving and no one is left behind. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. And with that, I'd like to introduce someone who has also been a champion in the Assembly with so many incredible pushes for legislation, including making sure that we build more housing, and the state helps us in that effort. Ladies and gentlemen, Assemblymember David Chiu.
Thank you very much, and good morning. Let me first start by thanking Mayor Breed for your bold and innovative leadership as we move forward in dealing with the intensity of the crisis that we've all experienced in recent years. Today is a good day for San Francisco. Today is a good day for the city of St. Francis, and I want to thank so many folks who are responsible for moving SB 1045, but of course the team behind me, starting with my colleague who is both a physical and a figurative giant when it comes to moving forward important and bold things like this bill. A couple months ago, the team behind me came to the Assembly Judiciary Committee that I serve on. And we explained to my colleagues from around the state that San Francisco needs this. First, because people are dying on our streets. It is not humane to allow folks to die in the streets when we can do something in the city of St. Francis. And we know there are things that we can do. There are services that we can provide. There are roofs that we can build. And that's why this is so incredibly important. And one thing I also said to my colleagues as they were looking at all of us as San Franciscans was that we represent the diversity of who San Francisco is, not just in how we look, but we represent diversity of views who all believe the same thing, that we have to save the lives of folks who are dying on our streets. We also know that with SB 1045, we are going to make a good step forward, but it is not the last step. We need so many new things, and this is why Mayor Breed's announcement around 1,000 shelter beds is so incredibly exciting. I want to take a moment and also thank Governor Brown and our colleagues, not just for signing this bill, but for signing my bill that will create streamlining to build supportive housing in the state of California. Gail Gilman from Community Housing Partnership will know we've worked together in moving forward projects for formerly homeless individuals that took years when they should have been entitled within months. And our bill will make sure, working with others, that we're getting more done. And I'll also say that if voters have their way in November, we will hopefully have, with Propositions 1 and 2, another $6 billion of funding coming from the state to build affordable housing and supportive housing for chronically homeless folks. We can do it. This is the city of St. Francis, and I'm really, really proud to be part of this. And with that, it is my honor to introduce the newest member of the Board of Supervisors, but someone who for his entire life has been fighting to make sure we are addressing the challenges we're talking about today. Rafael Mandelman, come on up.
Thank you, Assemblymember Chiu. Good morning, everybody. I want to start by thanking Senator Wiener again for your incredible work on this important piece of legislation at a time when the federal government has left cities like San Francisco to fend for ourselves in the face of a terrible homelessness crisis. We are so lucky to have leaders like Senator Wiener and Assemblymember Chiu in Sacramento fighting for the resources and solutions we need. I also really want to thank Mayor Breed for your commitment to implementing SB 1045 so that we have every tool possible in our toolbox when it comes to addressing the situation on our streets. I think every San Franciscan has had the experience of walking out our doors and seeing people who are clearly sick and unable to take care of themselves. And as compassionate as San Franciscans may be, it is not the job of neighbors to take care of people struggling with mental illness and substance abuse who are living on our streets. It's the job of our government to take care of those who cannot take care of themselves. And that's what this legislation is about. SB 1045 is not a panacea. It's not going to solve every problem, but I think it shows the commitment of this city, of our legislative delegation in Sacramento, and of us here in San Francisco to make sure that sick and vulnerable people get the care that they need. Now, we are just starting the local conversations, and those who are skeptical about this legislation will be heard. There is going to be a robust process that engages providers and advocates, but I think we can all agree that the status quo is not acceptable and that we need to get sick people off of our streets. We're going to have a conversation about conservatorships, about assisted outpatient treatment, but at the end of the day, we need to be moving more people off the streets and indoors. And I also want to extend my great thanks to Mayor Breed for recognizing that we need to invest more in shelter beds, more off-ramps for people who are homeless. No one should be living on our streets, and no one should have to live on our streets. And I know and am so grateful that Mayor Breed shares that tremendous commitment. So I'm looking forward to doing this work with the folks behind me and the folks out here. I think we're going to make some real progress, and I think we are going to show that San Francisco is the city that knows how. With that, I would like to invite our next speaker, Gail Gilman, the CEO of Community Housing Partnership.
Thank you, Supervisor. Before I start, I also want to thank Senator Wiener and Mayor Breed, who earlier in this year stood with us at Richardson Apartments to announce that we were advancing this measure. Community Housing Partnership's mission is to help homeless people secure housing and become self-sufficient. And what we know is that as individuals spend more and more time on our streets without stable housing, their conditions worsen. Their health conditions become more chronic. Their mental illness and substance abuse become more chronic because it's harder and harder for them to seek services and treatment. This is one tool, this is one option for a small group of people that can help really stabilize and change their lives. We also need treatment on demand, safe injection sites, more shelter beds, navigation centers, and supportive housing, all things that Mayor Breed, Senator Wiener, and Assemblymember Chiu are championing for us both at the local and state level. We know that with the right levels of support, that homeless individuals can stabilize, rebuild their lives piece by piece, and many of them become thriving members of their community. They become activists. Some of them are here today. They go back to work. They start rebuilding their lives. Community Housing Partnership this year had 75 individuals exit supportive housing into the private market and become fully self-sufficient, opening those slots for people living on our streets and in shelter. Community Housing Partnership believes that every tool should be available to help individuals who sometimes can't help themselves. So it's been our pleasure to be supportive of SB 1045. Thank you. Senator Wiener.
Okay, I want to thank you for being here today. That concludes the press conference, and folks will be available for questions one-on-one. So thank you very much.